Hello, everybody. I am going to be reading Jann's story of being sexually abused, and I'm just going to get right into it without wasting any time. So let's just get right into it. Jan Simpsons is a Native American, a mother, a grandmother, a speaker, a podcaster, and an author and a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. Jan's first shared her story before a packed audience when she and her daughter were guest speakers at a national conference. At the conclusion, she was surprised to review revise a standing ovation. At a book signing afterwards, she was approached by a young man asking if he could talk to her for a moment. He went on to say he was a counselor but was considering quitting his job since he didn't felt he had an impact on his clients. Jann responded to the man, My therapist has no idea I speak. Have written a book and I am thriving now. She has no idea her words still influence my life daily. He replied saying, Because your story and hope that you give, I know this works exactly what I have to do. I brief in my therapeutic process is now shift due to your story. After many more of the audience, Jann knew right then and there that her story had inspired and provide hope. Her experience sharing her story motivate her to continue. Jann shared how writing What Way One Woman's traumatic journey and her daughter's explanation of how to turn pain into power with her daughter Sherry affected her healing journey. It was difficult at first, writing a book about the abuse I endured required that I mentally go back on each event. I had remembered the sights and the smell, the feeling, the surrounding, the predators, and the pain. A writer must be able to describe each detail for the reader exactly what is happening. This allows the reader to be drawn into the moment with you. Through my years of therapy, I never actually gone into depth from my abuse, and it was traumatic. Jann and Sherry spent months writing their own separate chapters of the book and regularly came together to read the rough drafts to see how it flowed. It was challenging and emotional. Jann's daughter also struggled with her emotions as she learned how much more about her mother's abuse as a child. Jann said, however, the process of writing the book took me a new level of healing and allowed me to fully embrace what had happened to me. I realized how important it was to celebrate my courage, to own my story and says, I'm strong, I'm brave, and I am a survivor. I made a choice to heal and to change the legacy of my family. As Sherry struggled to make sense of her mother's pain, she transitioned later in her life to a career that aligned with what Jann had endured. Sherry became a mental health therapist and helping at-risk youth who are experiencing abuse and sexual violence. Jann said that her daughter was a very precious child. She knew I was struggling with something during my years of therapy. Even when I tried to cover up the pain I was feeling as a 12-year-old, she knew. I was worried some to hear her young daughter and she keep asking questions and try to understand. My therapist told me I should tell her age appropriate portions what I went through, Jann added. Jann shared with her daughter that she grew up as an orphanage after being taken away from her mother for neglecting and abuse. This planted a seed in the mind of heart of her daughter. Sherry knew then she wanted to help children. My story for forage a passion and Sherry. Jann shared she knew she is now a licensed clinical social worker and has been a therapist over 30 years. She has run 4 residential facilities, no longer referred as to orphans. She invested to the residential unit she would run and vowed compassion and healing would be forced. I gave my abuse a purpose that I was able to pass on. When you think about it, it's a brilliant revenge. I took something so horrific and turned it into an amazing possibility for good. I realized that my abuse was a planted on foundation of healing. As Jann and Sherry continued together on their journey to inspire others, they both learned so much on the way. They now speak at conferences and share the effects of trauma and brain and how past genetics pass on pain, as well as a restoration to family members. They also have spoken on TED Talk and continue to share their stories of realistically and hope all over the U.S. Jann encourages survivors to come forward. One of my favorite quotes is by Brené Brown. Owning your own story is the bravest thing you could ever do. It takes a lot of courage to speak about what has happened to you. You may not be sure what the listener will think when you share your story. All the pain inside you allows you to recognize your own worth. You can then begin to look at yourself, authorize and encouragingly deal with what it did to you. Please find your voice and don't remain silent. For Jann, her healing has spoken on many forms. She shared what the most helpful in her healing journey. Therapy was my path on getting to a better place. I had to stop the messages from my past was given to me. That was not worthy, not lovable, and not wanted. One of my therapeutic exercises is to write a positive message on a mirror. For a long time, I didn't believe those words. Then one day, I did. We can redo the messages that were given while growing up. This exercise changed the direction of life. I also needed to accept my inner child. We have all had a little child within us. It's the bravest part of us. Jann shared her final message with survivors. It got very black for me at times, but I wanted you to know there is hope. We must get to the other side of the darkness to see the light. The light is there. Don't give up. You are much more than how you view yourself because of your abuse. I am living proof that there is beauty on the other side. Joanne's podcast, Which Why, can be found on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. I hope this video inspires you in any shape or form, and if it did, please like, please subscribe, please share these videos, and I'll see you in the next video.